ever a little concerned about how artificial intelligence is going to revolutionize our children's world? How do we raise kids for a future that is completely unknown? Apparently, about 75% of future jobs are things we haven't even heard of yet. With this rapid change in technology and therefore in education, how do we raise our kids and equip them for the future? That's what this video is going to dive into. But first, tell me, do you use AI? What do you use it for? Are you worried about its implications for the future of your children? Are you worried about it doing their homework for them, becoming their girlfriend, shortening their attention span, or potentially displacing their future job? Let me know in the comments below, and let's get into this. Welcome back to Hi Fam. I'm Avital. I'm here to help you build a strong family culture and raise resilient kids. Kids who can face the future no matter what it brings to them. Kids who are going to be well-rounded, grounded, skilled, happy, healthy individuals. But how do we do that when the future seems so uncertain and when change is so accelerated? You know, maybe you're of a time that when you were growing up, like when I was, there was a rather clear outline, a path that parents could follow to ensure their children's future success and financial stability. If kids graduated high school, got a college degree, started at an apprenticeship, an internship, a first job, and worked their way up the ladder, they were going to be okay. But you and I are not raising kids with that kind of certainty. AI is advancing faster than ever, and experts say it's going to displace about 375 million jobs by 2030. Apparently, about 85 million jobs are going to be displaced this year. So how do we raise kids who are going to be able to support themselves? Maybe AI is going to usher in some kind of utopian future where they won't even need to earn money, in which case, what do we educate them to be able to do with their time? Or maybe you're worried about some kind of dystopian future and all of the destruction and displacement that AI could bring. Like, are we going to raise kids who are going to become too dependent on technology? Are they going to lose their edge, their creativity, their interest, their uniqueness? Are they going to be so dumbed down and unable to think for themselves because they're completely dependent on artificial intelligence? Is a robot going to replace all of their human relationships? Are they going to end up marrying a robot? These and others are the types of concerns and thoughts that parents around the world have when they consider what AI is ushering in. And if these concerns seemed weird, far-fetched to you, or just something that has never crossed your mind, then maybe you haven't spent any time actually exploring AI and understanding its full power. In this video, we're going to explore how to protect our children's imagination and their future while still harnessing the power of AI and remaining firmly in the 21st century. Now, I don't want to spike your anxiety, and I'm not here to fearmonger, but the concerns about AI are massive and valid. There is a real danger that the vast majority of the workforce is going to become automated. And I don't know about you, but that really worries me. Not only how are we going to support our children, but how are they going to support themselves in adulthood? Almost all of the jobs that you and I are familiar with are disappearing at a rapid pace. So how do we help children develop the resilience and the adaptability that they need? There's the concern about the over-reliance on AI. As AI tools adapt, evolve, and handle more and more tasks, how can we make sure our children are still critical thinkers, are capable of reason and judgment, and coming up with their own unique individual and creative thoughts? And then there's the hit to social and emotional skills. In a world of screens and chatbots, are our children going to miss out on real-life relationships, on empathy, on reading facial expressions and body language and tone of voice? We've already seen a huge decline in real-world communication, on the ability to have a conversation or to read emotion correctly in Gen Z, just from text messaging and DMs. How is artificial intelligence going to impact this? And then there's the fact that AI-generated content allows for very hyper-realistic mis- and disinformation. So how will our children be able to discern between what is real and what is a deep fake? Okay, so by now you might be really worried, but stay with me here because I'm going to offer you practical, pragmatic, hands-on, real life and lifestyle choices tips, hacks, tricks, ideas, mindsets that I'm taking with my children so that I can protect them from the downsides of an AI world while still harnessing the powerful technology and everything that's magical and incredible about this revolution. And if you want to really understand just how much of a revolution it is and just how much it's going to change the world, then stay tuned for my in-depth discussion with my wonderful brother, Daniel Schreiber, who happens to be an expert on this subject. All right, let's start with the hardest piece of advice. Number one, get offline. Because AI is such a powerful technology, it gives us instant gratification. It immediately answers any question that we have. It even offers us empathy and understanding and attention in a way that can sometimes be harder to get in real social settings. If we're playing a game or learning a skill, it caters and personalizes everything like a tailor made to measure to our needs and preferences. We can tell it what tone of voice we want. We can ask it to come up with plans for us so we don't have to think for ourselves. And all of this is really useful, but it also floods us with dopamine. It's extremely rewarding, it's easy, it's frictionless, and it's instantaneous. But real life isn't like that. When I play with my friends, we actually have to negotiate the rules. I have to take into account a different human being with different perspectives, with desires, with will, with ambition and drive, with their own yearnings and perspectives and biases, in ways that I simply don't have to contend with when I'm interacting with a chatbot. A robot is catered to me, but other human beings aren't necessarily. In my digital world, I might have everything I need at the click of a mouse. But in the real world, sometimes Newtonian laws like gravity or like time or other people's perspectives and preferences actually take precedence. I have to wait. I have to make something work physically. I have to negotiate with other people. And so getting offline forces us to actually disconnect, unplug, go screen free for a little while, and contend with the real world. Inside of my membership, The Studio, you can check it out at highfam.com/the studio. We actually take on a tech break project. And in this project, we're encouraged to take several hours a week in a predictable, reliable way without any screen usage for the adults and the children. And this can go along with our Fam Nature project or with our Fam Feast project, where we have family meals, where we get out in nature. And all of these components contribute to our real life skills that are not digitized, that do not rely on the screen or on an app or on AI. And we have to offer our children and ourselves these breaks, because although technology is evolving, right, at an accelerated rate, we are evolving only at the rate of, physical, biological evolution. So our brains are not adapted for the current technological pace. Our brains haven't changed that much since the time of hunter-gatherers. And therefore, even though new technology is rapidly adapting, we are not. We still need human-paced experiences. And getting offline gives us that opportunity. So whether you take a few hours or maybe an entire day, like a Sabbath every week, like I take, this will give you the opportunity to actually put into practice all the other tips that I'm about to share with you in this video. Number two, think for yourself. Yes, your children are going to use AI to research things, to do their homework, to learn for tests, to study a new skill, to answer any question that pops into their head instantaneously. But one of the things that gets lost when we can outsource our thinking to a robot is our ability to develop our thinking skills. Inside the studio, I have an entire bonus training on critical thinking skills and teaching kids these crucial skills for a well-rounded life. Kids need to learn how to ask open-ended questions, how to debate a point, how to take another perspective, how to be media savvy and a bit skeptical about whatever's presented to them online or in the media, and even how to think critically about AI outputs. Where did they get that answer from? Is it evidence-based? Is it even true? AI content can be generated out of thin air. They can suddenly see people saying things that they never even said, watching videos that look like they're real, but they're not. This goes way beyond just the filters. And now we're into generated content that doesn't even base itself in reality at all. So suddenly people can fly, people can morph, people can age in reverse, people can do all sorts of things that don't exist in reality. And so we have to develop critical thinking skills even more than ever. Number 3 is developing in real life social skills. Social skills have taken a massive hit in the last decade, with research showing that kids are less able to identify facial expressions than they used to be. And this is because they're simply looking at faces less often. They're looking at a screen instead. They're interacting via emoji. And now they're not even going to be interacting with a mentor or a teacher or even a parent, but rather with AI. Chatting with an AI bot does nothing for your in real life social skills. It doesn't help you to read body language, tone of voice, or to be able to express things in a way that makes sense for a human. So in all of our time that our children are offline, whether it's play dates or going to church or synagogue or the park or the museum or the library or school, this is time to practice face-to-face interaction. Encourage children to look people in the eyes, to say please and thank you, to offer help, to resolve conflicts through conversation, to validate and to empathize, to be able to reflect back to people what they've said, to show understanding, to and aha and make eye contact and do all these important things that humans do with each other, but we don't do with a machine. Number 4 is to use AI in order to learn. We want to show our children how to use AI and harness its incredible power, whilst also learning ourselves and not just leaving the learning in the machine. In other words, a child can do their homework by simply telling ChatGPT to do it for them. ChatGPT can write your thesis or write the essay or give you the answer, and then you can just rote copy it down and you're done. But the idea is not to just let the computer do it for you, but to let the computer teach you. This is actually a really incredible way of getting skills, of getting mentoring, of getting tutoring, basically, that is made to measure, that is personalized, that goes at your pace. But the idea is to teach our kids to ask AI to teach them something rather than just asking AI for the answer. And then using those critical thinking skills, being able to question what the AI output has offered them. They need to learn to verify the results or to ask AI for alternative points of view and perspectives, including the idea of critical thinking and debate and alternative perspectives, and teaching them step by step rather than just feeding them answers will make AI a tool for their learning rather than a tool for them to skip their learning. What's happening now is that teachers are giving children assignments, say, write an essay about penguins in the Arctic. And then children are going to the chat and asking it to write the essay. And then they are taking that essay and giving it to the teachers. And then the teachers are asking the AI, the chat, to grade the essay. So basically, it's just AI grading AI. No one's learning anything. What we need instead is for our education system and us as parents to catch up to this and understand that they are going to start using AI to learn, but not for it to learn instead of them, which doesn't benefit anyone. The idea is to ask AI to teach them something step by step, to give them feedback on work they've already done, or for them to then go and present things verbally, right? Not just by giving in what the chat has done, but actually digesting it and learning it for themselves. Number 5, be media savvy. We've already mentioned AI-generated content. It's important for us parents to be on top of what's going on technologically and understand the rapid changes so that when we see videos, when we hear audio, we know that this might not be real. We know that when a child comes up with an answer, writes a poem, writes a song, sends a message, writes a speech, does a project, even a creative visual project, it may well be generated by AI and not by the child. When they're consuming these things, they may be generated by AI. We have to teach our children that there might be a deep fake that looks really convincing, but never actually happened. That much of the content that they might be consuming is misleading. That we need to figure out ways to fact check things together and learn if they're real or generated. This is incredibly important for our girls who are going to be seeing more and more sensationalized imagery that becomes even though this is almost unimaginable, but even more unattainable than our already unattainable beauty standards. This is going beyond the highly toxic and damaging world of filters and now into the world of generative AI content. This is true in the porn industry. This is true in the beauty industry. This is true in the news industry. And our children are going to be in a world of mis and disinformation like never before, where anyone can create a piece of content, even about them. And there are, of course, groomers and predators out there that are using children and using AI to create illegal, dangerous, and terrible content online. I don't want to freak you out, but it's just important that we know and that our children need to be aware of. This is why it's actually becoming much more dangerous to upload images of children online. And many of us, myself included, are stepping back from that and trying to scrub any of that so that our children's likeness isn't even available online. Hey, are you liking this content? If so, do me a massive favor, hit the subscribe button and the like button. Make sure you've got the notification bell switched on so you can see more content like this. Let's get back to it. Number 6, we want to teach our children to become Renaissancean people, well-rounded people with lots of different skills. You want to encourage diverse interests. It wasn't that long ago that we thought children could really gain a specific skill like coding and they'd be set for life. But today, because AI is taking over almost any job that can be done online, any job that you could have done via Zoom, say, or through a computer somehow, can now be taken over by AI. Yes, even jobs in the social and emotional, and even jobs in the creative spheres. These are now quickly being slotted to be replaced by AI, and we're on a fast track to just get rid of those jobs altogether. Now, that might be freaking you out, and it does freak me out at times, but I am very committed to being optimistic and hopeful about the future. Why? Well, I'll tell you about that at the end of this video. But for now, let me just say that one of the things that I think we can do to protect our children's future and allow that adaptability is to encourage interdisciplinary thinking. The convergence of different disciplines, of different fields, of different ideas is where new ideas come forth. New ideas that AI can't come up with. AI doesn't have ambition. It doesn't have drive. It isn't creative in and of itself. Of its own volition, it doesn't come up with new ideas and new plans and projects. And that is something that at the moment, at least, is still uniquely human. And so we want to encourage our children to have various skills, from the physical to the social to the emotional to the academic, skills in technology, skills in biotechnology, skills in creative disciplines, because it's often at the crossroads between those different ideas, that intersection is what brings in new creative ideas and leads me to the next point, which is to encourage entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurial thinking takes that interdisciplinary thinking, that Renaissancean person, that well-rounded person that's developed lots of different areas of themselves, right? They haven't gone deep into one vertical, but they're horizontally kind of well-skilled and adapted. And it allows them to come up with new solutions to problems, right? Entrepreneurs look at things a little bit differently. They look at things creatively. They think outside the box. And this is something that at the moment, even though AI may be gaining general intelligence, it isn't gaining the drive to come up with solutions to human problems. And that is the entrepreneurial drive. The entrepreneurial drive is about resilience, right? It's about overcoming. It's about being creative and having a can-do attitude so that kids can really spot the opportunities amid the changes. Every massive revolution, every massive sea change in the world brings about tremendous opportunity. It brings about tremendous loss. A lot of loss is probably about to happen, but it also brings huge opportunities where suddenly entirely new industries, entirely new jobs, entirely new lifestyle choices emerge. Think about cities that suddenly became a thing after the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution suddenly forced people into living in proximity, living close to the factory, and developed this thing called cities that became much more of the norm than they had been beforehand. That's the type of big lifestyle change, big cultural shift that can bring new opportunities if you have an entrepreneurial mind. And for this, you have to raise kids with creativity, with resilience. And yes, I have videos on all of these, and I teach this inside the studio. So make sure you're signed up. because cultivating an entrepreneurial spirit in our children may not come naturally to all of us. If you yourself are not entrepreneurial, if these things don't come naturally to you, if you feel like you're spiraling into more anxiety or clamping down on one rigid, very conservative life plan and the flexibility and the adaptability freaks you out, then don't worry. I feel you. I hear you. Take a deep breath. Say this with me. We're going to be optimistic and we're going to raise children who are adaptable, who can evolve, who are flexible, who can roll with the punches, who can shift shape if they need to, and who can build a really great life, even in an ever-changing and adapting world. These 2 points of raising a Renaissancean, well-rounded figure, an entrepreneurial figure, along with that creative thinking and in real life social skills that we've already discussed, raise a child who is capable of thinking about a new format for their life. Because I'll give you an example. In our children's future world, there might not be jobs. There might be an entirely different economic system rather than working for money. It's entirely possible. It's happening in some ways already. Now, a lot of things have to change. It might not even be in our lifetime, but it really might be because the changes are so rapid. And our entire education system has been focused on raising children who could be factory workers after the Industrial Revolution. And since then, we've kind of stayed with the same system. We're kind of raising kids who can get a job, right? That's kind of been the entire purpose of education up until now. But now we're looking down the barrel of a world that really might not have any of the jobs that we know about. And so we need to offer them these creative, adaptive, applicable skills that they can take to whatever kind of world they're growing into. Number 8 is learning for its own sake. At the moment, because of our education system, we often think about learning for a future job, learning so that you can be employed. But we need to develop curiosity, DIY lifelong learners who want to learn so that they can become well-rounded individuals, so that they can have meaningful relationships, so that they can have meaningful endeavors, new ideas, creative expression, just interesting conversations. Kids who really want to learn for the love of learning, for the purity of the craft, for the fact that it stimulates their brain, it stimulates their mind. It brings pleasure and satisfaction and fulfillment and purpose to learn and grow and develop our minds. And so as parents, we're going to need to shift from learning to the test, learning to the grade, learning to the job application, and now really try to shift our focus into learning for the love of learning, learning for the self-development and growth. Foster your child's curiosity through reading, through museum trips, through watching documentaries, through lively conversation, right? So that they can become lifelong learners. Even when AI knows absolutely everything and can just answer our questions at the click of a button, we still want them to be interested in truly understanding and truly grasping something and really getting into a sticky math problem or really breaking down a philosophical debate and getting clear-headed, using those critical thinking skills to actually build intelligence and knowledge, even when it feels like all of that knowledge is just sitting right there in the robot. Number 9 is to build meaningful relationships. One of my taglines here is that meaning begins at home, that our quest, our human desire for a meaningful life, for purpose and fulfillment, is rarely going to be found out there. It's rarely going to be found in our career, in our jobs. It's going to be found in our human relationships. We're going to find tremendous meaning in prioritizing strong friendship and family bonds. Emotional intelligence is a powerful asset. Build your child's communication skills, their ability to be present, to spend quality time, to nurture and care for others. And here's why I say this. Consider the people in today's day and age that don't currently work. They're not in the workforce. Well, who are they? They could be people who are unemployed. They could be people who are still children, and therefore they're not in the workforce. They could be a stay-at-home parent who's dedicating this time to raising their children. Or they could be people who are retired and are no longer working for money, but rather spending their time in leisure, learning, in relationships with other people, expanding themselves, and having meaningful experiences. These are the types of people that we may need to model our brave new world on. As Daniel, my brother, explained to me, there have forever been people who aren't getting their meaning and purpose and their get up and go from the work that they do for money, but rather from another kind of work. Maybe it's tilling the ground and farming. Maybe it's being with family and friends. Maybe it's going on meaningful experiences. Maybe it's building community. There are lots of ways that we find meaning and purpose in our life that aren't necessarily linked to a job. So if we're raising our children with the possibility that they may not have a job in the future, that there may be universal basic income or some other system that provides abundance, but there is no work to be done, I know this sounds completely utopian or potentially dystopian, but it's entirely possible. And everyone who's warning about AI is saying that this is the type of future we could potentially be ushering in. With massive job displacement, yes, but also potentially massive abundance. And if that's the case, then we need our children to have really meaningful relationships. They need to know how to find a life partner and keep one. They need to know how to build a family and maintain lifelong friendships. They need to know how to communicate, how to resolve conflicts, how to live with other people so that we're not just building a world of lonely individuals who only have a relationship with their chatbot. And finally, number 10, I want to suggest that you harness the power of AI in your own parenting. I recently had an experience where I used AI as a therapist. I said, can you give me some CBT training on this mindset issue I'm having? I'm feeling really down about something. And I have to tell you, it was pretty incredible. Now, would I have preferred to speak to my close friend about this, who happens to also be a therapist? I would have. But guess what? When I called her, she wasn't available. And I was in such a distressed, dark place that I just got out ChatGPT and said, hey, help me out with this. And let me tell you, it was really good. It was empathic. It was helpful. It gave me mindset shifts. It talked me through it in the way that a therapist totally would have, but for free and instantaneously and anonymously and privately. So there's a ton of benefits. Now, I know some of you are cringing and thinking, oh my God, Vital, why are you going to a chat for your emotional connection or emotional coaching? And you might feel that stigma of someone who has a friend who's a robot or marries a robot. But the truth is that this is where the world's heading. We're heading to more and more automation. We're heading to a world where we can get a lot of parasocial experiences with a robot that's trained in particular disciplines like cognitive behavioral therapy, and that can actually offer us a really good product. We have to remember that just like automated driving, it might feel wrong to trust an automated system to drive us around town, but we have to remember it makes less errors than humans. Humans are imperfect, and there's a lot of costs associated with getting our connection and our services and our answers from a human that aren't associated with chat. And that's why it is taking over the world. So how can you use this in your parenting? Well, you can ask ChatGPT to help you plan your vacations, plan your meals, plan what to pack, or make key decisions. I was recently debating about one of my children's schools, and I put all of the input into ChatGPT and said, can you help me compare and contrast these two options? The results were phenomenal and hugely helpful. AI is like your personal assistant in every single way, but it can also be like a therapist, like a research assistant, like a planning assistant. You could tell it, I have these ingredients in my fridge. How can I make a meal for my kids? You can tell it my 8-year-old is fidgeting a lot and acting in strange ways. Is this normal? These are the types of things that you can get help on. And of course, you have to be questioning and discerning and remember that it's AI, but it can be hugely helpful in your parenting. If you want more ideas on that, let me know and maybe we'll make a part 2. But for now, let me end on this, and here's why I'm really optimistic. I am optimistic about the future because I really choose to be. I think it's a better, healthier way to live. I don't think it's healthy to raise our children with a dark cloud of anxiety about the world that they are growing up in. I don't think it's a good idea for them to feel like the world is deteriorating or somehow becoming a worse place than it was for us. I think that everything, technological development included, has trade-offs. And what we want to try and learn to do is to pay the price graciously and to gain the benefits of the changes that the world brings us. In the words of Simplicity Parenting, I think it's a good idea to love the times we're in. Sure, there are plenty of issues and plenty of things to be worried about, but there are also historical lows of poverty and war, and so many things to be grateful for, like modern medicine, modern plumbing. So it's better for us to focus on the positives and to help our children retain hope and resilience about growing into this world and making the most of it. Each of our lives is an adventure that we're on, and I think it benefits us and certainly our children to view that adventure as something exciting, as something with huge potential and meaning, rather than going down the nihilistic or negative or pessimistic route. Yes, AI is a massive sea change in the world, and it can leave us feeling powerless or really afraid about the future. But let's choose to raise children who see the opportunities and think, hey, I can handle this. This plays to my strengths. I was built for this. Let's build children and a family that is adaptive, that is resilient, and that is future-proof. For more on how to do that, make sure to head on over to highfam.com/studio. Meanwhile, keep on living that high fam life, and I'll see you in the next video.